things got bigger and bigger. We had the new type of car, new type of chassis down, and I went into full employment then. Naturally, they said, well, we're starting, come and lead me a charge hand, like what we call a section foreman. So I went there and started to help the line going, and I was gaining experience all the time, and I suppose I got a bit of bluff. I made out I knew more than what I did, as you always did in those days. And we got working on altering the Morris Oxford chassis, and we did different things. For one thing, we altered the brakes. With a sports body, of course, it's got to be got low. Well, your brake levers on the rear sort of went like this, but by turning them underneath, you could get much more room for a body. And we did things like that, knocked the brackets off and put a different bracket for different shock absorbers. We took the springs off and had them flattened. We dismantled the top of the engine. We took the cylinder head off. We polished the cylinder head. We polished the ports. We took the valves out, and we ground the valve guides down to the base, which really increased the speed a little bit. Then we built it back up with a Lucas Racing magneto and a Solex carburetor. Well, it went on down the line and had other things done then. It had a servo system fitted to increase the brakes, because the car really went a bit faster, but they were always under brake. The brakes were never good enough. So we fitted this servo system, which improved it all. And one way or another, we improved them till they went, well, the sales were good. We were employing 23 to 27 men a week. The pay wasn't too good. Normal pay was £2.01 and 10 pence a week. But there again, it was a job, and all of us seemed enthusiasts. We'd rather work there than Morris's, because Morris Motors, you've got more money. You perhaps get up to £5 a week, depending on the job you're in. But now and again you were put off if they got slack. If they hadn't any orders, you were just put off. Whereas our job was a regular one. You knew where your next pay was coming from. And as I say, we're all enthusiasts, so it didn't really matter. We were all like one big friendly society. Everybody helped each other. And most of us were in lodgings. We were in lodging in Oxford. My cost of lodgings was 18 shillings a week, so I had over £1 to spend, which was a lot of money in those days. I couldn't run a motorcycle then. I had to cycle, so I had to cycle home every weekend, which was, we worked Saturday mornings then. So I cycled home. It was 18 miles each way on the Saturday afternoon, and came back on the Sunday evening ready to start on the Monday, and enjoyed it all. And then we got on and on and on, and the place got too small for us. We had this bay belonging to Osburton Radiators. Well, when they wanted to move, they kicked us out of this bay, built another one beside, so suddenly we had to move all our stuff. And so, not to disturb production, we'd finish work at 6 o'clock and start taking all the bits out and taking them next door, and perhaps work till all night until you were ready for production in the morning, so to save time. And we realised that you couldn't go on like that at all. You'd have to do something. You'd have to either close it all down or make it get bigger. And it was the day of the motor car was coming in then. It was getting popular, and so then they built a purpose garage at Edmund Road, which was up the Cowley Road. People think, well, that they say, oh, you went to Cowley, but no, we were in the area of Cowley, but we were at this Edmund Road, which was a purpose-built factory, and oh, it seemed ideal, it seemed lovely. Well, then of course, the Morris bought the Wolsey Car Company, and so we were integrated with Wolseley, and the powers that be decided that some of their vehicles, some of the design of their engine was more modern, because after all we were only working on a side valve engine, which was, well, you could only get a certain amount of speed out of it. You could never tune it up to do anything in the way of sports. And one or two other firms with overhead valves, were coming into the market, and they said, oh, buy a thing with a side valve engine, well, that's out of date. So we experimented with the Wolseley engine, and that's where the M-type started, and that engine was a type with a dynamo right up the front, which drove the overhead camshaft. Of course, there was a greater potential for that, because you've got overhead valves as against side valves. But as far as we were concerned, we did experiments on it, and the things we did didn't seem to go down very well. For one thing, we found that the engine wouldn't rev because the valve springs weren't heavy enough, so we put different valve springs in. Well, that was all right, but then the valve the tappet clearance started moving all the time, so we decided we couldn't put much heavier springs in, but that limited the speed of it because of these valve springs. Then when we got more speed on it, the brakes were no use. You just couldn't stop. So we improved the brakes, we did all sorts of things to improve them, and then the chassis bent then, instead. It seemed to sort of try and gather itself up underneath. It was a funny feeling, because you could feel the chassis would bend at that. And so we went on, and well, we thought we were flogging a dead horse, but we sent our reports in to them, but they decided that it would be a good seller, and it was, after all. There again, you see, you were turning out the ordinary 1440 MG. You were trying to find a line to do the M-type, and then the large Wolseley engine, we had a chassis down to experiment on that. The 1880 started being experimented with, and things again were getting out of hand. You hadn't got the room, you hadn't got the potential, there's nothing you could do, you were fighting a losing battle all the time. So it was frustrating. And so they decided then that they'd got to get bigger. So they bought the Pavlova glove factory in Abingdon, and of course that is where everybody says the MG started. The early part is not known. It's all thought of as, oh, Abingdon for MGs, but not so. It had a life, and it sort of came to life. It was born in Oxford, and there's very few people. There are people still alive that work there, but there's nobody that gets on his hind legs and tells the facts and says, well, I was there, I know it all, and so I feel it's my place to spread the gospel and to let people know. I didn't go to work in Abingdon, but they were clearing the Pavlova factory out when we were at Edmund Road. So Cecil Cousins and Jack Lowndes and two or three others used to go over to Abingdon and have a morning over there marking out, well, we can put this here and that there and so there. And as the Pavlova moved out, there was a line of girls. I know when we went there was about 150 girls. Next time we were there about 100, then at 50 it went down and down. So they got the whole factory going, to themselves, and you could start building there. And of course it meant then things were getting more modern. You were getting more machinery to cut corners. Costs were getting higher. So then they moved to Abingdon, but I didn't go to Abingdon. They were still getting ready, and we were still working at Edmund Road. But I had an unfortunate accident there and lost my right eye. Well, the insurance company said, oh no, we're not insuring that man at the same premium. There's more risk with him if he gets the other one. gone, you can't work. In those days, workman's compensation it came under. You weren't paid for the loss of anything. All you were paid for, all you could claim for, was the loss of earning power. Well, of course, when I had this trouble with my eye, then they said, oh yes, come back, yes, the job's waiting for you. So of course the insurance company said, well, what has he suffered? He hasn't suffered anything, he's getting the same wage he did before, and we don't pay him for losing the eye, we just pay him for the difference in earning power. And so I think I got £50. £50 to start with, then a £200 on the final settlement. So that's £250 I got. And of course, in those days, if you had had an accident at work, they said, oh, the works compensation pays that. You don't go on national health, you can't go on a sickness benefit. So you were sort of shot down both ways. And I drew this compensation, and of course, being a motorcycle man, I straightway bought myself a beautiful Sunbeam. I spent most of it on the motorcycle, and it suited me. And we parted then, and I still wanted to carry on learning. There's more things to learn. So I went to work in London to a motorcycle dealer and got more experience. And after that, in 1932, I started a business on my own. And until I suppose 3 years ago, I ran my own business. Now I've retired and can just spend my time with motorcycles and MGs.